The Uneducated States of America, coming soon? Welcome to part 7 of our series, Project 2025, How Democracy Dies. And make sure you follow because Project 2025's plan for education is make America dumb as with a complete overhaul that benefits the rich and hurts the poor.
You can rely on the old man's money.
Ready? It's a lot. They'll start by
closing up the Department of Education,
the Head Start program for preschoolers, and Title I funding for low-income schools. You know, since America isn't quite on board with their preferred policy.
Have you tried kill all the poor?
And they want to redirect tax dollars from public schools to private and religious schools under the guise of choice, which, surprise, helps the wealthy and hurts the poor. Florida is currently the poster child for this policy, and now public schools are closing. More on school choice and how it's funded in Part 8. Oh, and what about student loans? Well, they want to privatize loans, eliminating federal lending and loan forgiveness. Not done yet. Bear with me, because this may be the most egregious proposal. When all the rich kids are funneled out of the public schools, they'll require the poor students left to take the military entrance exam. And private school kids would be exempt. Basically, the rich telling the poor,
some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
When Republicans tell their MAGA voters that Democrats are fighting for health care for illegal immigrants, I mean, does that make sense to them? What would be the upside? I'm one of the people the Democrats are fighting for their health care because I'm on the Affordable Care Act, because I own a small business and I have for 15 years. I'm actually working right now in my garage, packaging things up. It's not a glamorous job. And I get my health care that I can afford for my family off the Affordable Care Act. And the premium is about to go up 85%. Why would Democrats be fighting for health care for illegal immigrants? People who are here undocumented. Those people are afraid to go to work right now. They're not going to hospitals and doctors' offices, and it's already illegal for them to get health care through Medicaid. That's not something that exists. And they're rounding these people up and sending them out of the country. What would be the upside for Democrats to fight for that? I mean, I just want to know, how does that make sense to them? How do they just hear that and believe it? Democrats are fighting for health care for U.S. citizens like myself and many other families.
Project 2025 said that they were going to destroy overseas markets for farmers. On page 307, they said they would push legislation to repeal export programs. And this graph was put out today by the New York Times. Last year, China bought over $12 billion of beans. Today, zero. Not one penny. And we know that over 78% of farmers voted for Trump. But I don't want to get into the FAFO because we're all going to find out. But every time I wonder why they would do something, I always think, what would Vladimir Putin want for our country? What would the oligarchs want for our country? Even if farmers get a bailout this year, there's no reason to plant next year. And if you don't plant, then you sell. And if you have to sell, it's probably going to be a fire sale. It's going to go for cheap, right? And they already have the model for this. They did it to rural communities years ago. Take away the jobs, hollow out the schools, people leave. You can do whatever you want with the land.
You dumb, ignorant fucks let this man sit in your face and play reindeer games. When we sat here and told you guys that, hey, Project 2025 is a real thing, that a real concept that these people believe is actually what they want. This is what they want to institute. When we told you guys that, everybody looked at everybody else on this side of the fence and said, you guys are fucking crazy, even though you didn't agree with a lot of things that were in Project 2025. We're checking that box off one by one. And not only that, now your sitting U.S. dictator has finally stated that it's real. And the authentator of it, he also mentioned in the post. I knew that people were gullible. I didn't realize how stupid and how gullible people were. And it's like, I'm gonna go garden.
I'm a weirdo, so one of my biggest passions is Project 2025, and now that Donald Trump is actively talking about it and tweeting about it, and these shameless motherfuckers on the internet want to act like he didn't know what it was, but now he knows what it is, and they're all for it. You need to understand something. Project 2025 is just the argument for unitary executive theory. See, for all of modern American history, the executive branch, which is made up of the presidency and then all these three-letter agencies you always hear about, the DOJ, the FBI, the CDC, the EPA, the SEC, those three-letter agencies have been largely independent from the presidency, shielded from political pressure. So when the Department of Justice wants to, for example, investigate the president's son, remember how they indicted Joe Biden's son? They need to be able to do that without feeling like there will be political repercussions, like the president won't engage and interrupt in that, endeavor. Same with like the CDC. If they're trying to figure out if abortion drugs are safe and effective, they don't want the president or any type of political pressure interfering with that. Unitary executive theory argues that actually that's not how that's supposed to work. The president should have sole authority over these agencies. And so now Donald Trump has filled them with loyalists, and he's basically directing them to do things. So like the Department of Justice, go after my political opponents. The CDC, do what's politically advantageous to me. The SEC, if somebody pays me enough money, we've seen this like 2 or 3 times, you can, drop their charges if they've been charged with security fraud violations. So that's Project 2025. It's in full effect and it's really bad.
Hello everyone, it's Anthony. Welcome to the most unfiltered, unbiased, raw, whatever you can explain, YouTube channel around here. So it's amazing having you here. You mean a lot to me. So, who is calling the shots in our government? Is it this Project 2025 enthusiast like Stephen Miller, or is it Christian nationalists like Pete Hegseth? Because Trump is not Christian. Oh, I forgot. He is a puppet. Trump is a puppet. He is a puppet. So there is even Project Esther. I'm seeing people talking about Project Esther. What is Project Esther? What's going on? What's going on in our country at the moment? I can't grasp a damn thing.
The dismantling of America and American democracy has begun, and Trump admitted that he knew all along exactly what that project of 2025 was. He posted this today on Truth Social, and this man right here, Russ Vought, is who I want to talk about because he's one of the key authors of that project, and he's the one who has been going around over the past week or so saying he plans to fire thousands of federal employees during the government shutdown. That's why they shut it down, to consolidate power under the executive branch. It's not about, healthcare for illegals. No. These folks that wrote that project have been setting the groundwork and the framework for this for the better part of 4 decades. And Russ Vought has been one of the key architects of this. Getting rid of Democratic scam agencies and the radical left. No. There's nothing radical about wanting a clean environment. There's nothing radical about wanting equal opportunity in education for every American child. There is nothing radical about losing half of the Department of Defense staff. You realize that almost half of them got furloughed or will soon be furloughed. Now, those cuts can be temporary or permanent, but here's the thing. They don't want there to be a bureaucracy. They don't want there to be an infrastructure. They want all of the power consolidated under the executive branch. Trump. We told you he wanted to be a dictator. We told you he wanted absolute power. You called us crazy. And now he admitted himself today on Truth Social. He knew all along what he was doing. Of course he did. And he will pander to anyone that he thinks will keep him in power and give him the money to do so. And that's exactly what Russ Vought and the rest of those fools that wrote that project of 2025 can do. And they've been doing it for 40 years. That's how we got into this situation. And that's why the government is shut down. It's for total control.
I'm Vic Myers. Welcome to The Resistance. If you go to the project2025.observer, you can see for yourself that Project 2025 is almost halfway complete. All the radical actions of this administration, the guard in the streets, federal agencies dismantled, the Gestapo snatching people off the street, and the so-called big beautiful bill, what I call the Trump tax, and the government shutdown. This is all the Project 2025 plan in motion. A lot of people think Project 2025 was written just a couple of years ago. that Donald Trump is the leader. He's not. The guy can barely read. Now, he's not the leader of Project 2025. He's just a useful idiot. That's why the oligarchs love him. He doesn't have to understand their plan. He just has to sign it. Project 2025 itself comes straight out of the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society. Same network that's been shaping American politics for decades. Heritage gave Reagan his policies, Clinton his welfare reform, and even the Affordable Care Act's individual mandate was their idea, later struck down by Federalist Society judges with the help of Heritage briefs. And look at the courts. Biden tries to cancel student debt, blocked. Biden tries to regulate climate change, blocked. Trump redirects money to build a border wall after Congress refused to fund it, allowed. Trump dismantles agencies, allowed. See the pattern? Decades-old organizations built the plan. A useful idiot fronts it. Judges enforce it. That's how a secret blueprint turned into today's reality. And the bad news is, Project 2025 is already halfway complete. The good news? Their plan is stuck in the past. Our tools are built for the future. Instant communication, grassroots organizing, the power to out-connect, out-share, and out-organize them. That's why Project 2025 can still be defeated. But only if we keep talking about it. Silence is their weapon, and our voice is the way we win. Thanks for listening. Good day.
So now it's time to have that talk because I think America's ready to hear it. Now that Trump's Project 2025 is all over the map, we need to connect all the pieces so people do not understand this is not simply a political Republican Party American issue. This is so much bigger than that. This is about taking down the largest democracy in the free world, the United States of America. And this is not hyperbole, this is not fear-mongering. You have Putin, who has created a consortium of countries that are all under authoritarian rule. It includes North Korea, it includes China, it includes Saudi Arabia, it includes Iran, and now it includes Hungary. And the stated goal of this consortium, right out of Putin's mouth, is to take down democracies around the world and turn every country into an authoritarian country. You want to talk about Trump supporters' big fears of a one-world government? Here it is. This is it. So you have Hungary's Prime Minister, Orban, who just met with China, who just met with North Korea, who just met with Putin, and now he's getting ready to meet with Trump again, actually, at Mar-a-Lago, either this week or later next week. Okay? You have the Republican National Committee, the RNC, who held their annual convention this year in Hungary. And the convention was funded by the Heritage Foundation, aka Trump's Project 2025. They praised Orban, the Republicans. They praised Hungary because indeed Orban pulled off in 2010 what they have been trying to pull off here in the United States. Their strategies for Project 2025 comes from Hungary and what the right-wing extremists were able to pull off over there. He dismantled their democracy in Hungary. It is no more. It's authoritarian now. And now they're all part of this consortium, and they're keeping their eye on the prize, the United States of America, through Donald Trump, through Trump's Project 2025. And keep in mind, authoritarianism can be religious driven, you know, like in Iran or what have you, or not religious driven, like in Hungary. It doesn't matter. You've just got an authoritarian type of governorship. And that's what Putin wants. Donald Trump wants it because he wants to live like Putin in a palace. He wants to live like the Saudi princes, which is probably why his family got almost $3 billion from the Saudis. And the evangelicals, the ones who talk like the very evangelicals who carried out the Inquisition, who murdered, executed people because they were ungodly. They will get to rule this country. They are giving the strategy for turning us into an authoritarian country. So this all ties together. This is not just a Republican agenda if Trump wins. It's so much bigger than that. I hope I've helped you connect the dots. That's what we're looking at.
Everything we said that he would do, he's doing it. We said this was happen. The things that are happening in our economy, in our society right now, we said this would happen if he was elected, if he was given fucking power. We said this all would happen. If you're probably wondering, oh, what are you talking about? We all know who I'm talking about. We all fucking know. If you don't, you're playing yourself. Today, he posted about how since it's a government shutdown because the radical left or the Dems, they did this and that's what they want, he's gonna do Project 2025. Here, I'll show you the fucking tweet. This is his fucking tweet. Even though he said when he was running, he said multiple times, oh, I don't know about Project 2025. I don't know what that is. I don't know anybody associated with that, with the Heritage Foundation. I'll put that here too. You can read it. He posted it. He said that. And now he's saying he's going to implement Project 2025 now. By the way, 54% of Project 2025 has already been implemented. I'll put that up there for you as well so you can see it. So when we told you he was going to enact Project 2025 and you told us that we were fear-mongering, what now? So when we tell you that there's only... This is the first book of 4. The other 3, they never shared to the public. This is the first book of 4 that they're trying to implement in all of his years of being in office. Do you believe us now? Are you scared now? What about Project Esther? How that's also tied into it all. Are you scared about that? That's going to be implemented. And he keeps trying to blame the radical left, the radical left. That's what's all over government websites, which, by the way, is a complete violation of the Hatch Act. That's, like, immensely illegal. Whoever put that up there, like, does not need their job. They need to be fired. They need to be arrested. That's, like, illegal, quite literally. The Hatch Act. Look it up. But he's blaming us. He's blaming radical left, radical left. We're radical because we want kids to have free lunches and not have to worry about getting shot up in school. That's why we're radical. Those are the ideologies that he's calling radical. But it's not even the left. Who's sitting president? Who's majority Senate? Who's majority House? All Republican. And not one of them showed up yesterday to do the vote. Not one of them. Here, I'll show you right there. All Democrats were there. No Republicans. Not one of them showed up. And yet you still call us liars? And you still don't want to believe us? Roe v. Wade getting overturned. Boom, happened. We said it was going to happen. It happened. Well, give them back to the states. Doesn't fucking matter. They're going to try and take it away completely. They're going to try and take away all of our contraception. Oh, it's not going to happen. Project 2025. It's in there. Everything that's happened, like selling national land, Project 2025. Hunting and fishing, Project 2025. Everything that's happened, Project 2025. And as I said, that's the first book of 4 that they've released. And they've already done this much damage. So at this point, all of you guys who have stayed with me through this, we're aware of the current inept state of our country. We are aware. We know what's going on. We see this happening. What the fuck are we doing about it? Genuinely. We can boycott and we can go to as many protests as we want to. But what are we going to do about it? That does nothing in a democracy like this. Okay? It does nothing. This isn't a democracy anymore. So what are we going to do? I'm not calling for violence, but I'm definitely calling for legal actions to be taken into our own hands. Because if they're not going to follow the fucking law, we need to follow the law. They put it there for a reason. If they can't even follow it themselves, we need to make them fear the law the way we have feared the law. Okay? That's what I think needs to happen. Not calling for violence, but calling for justice. Calling for the law to be enacted. So, wasn't us. Can't blame the radical left. Your own stupid fucking fault, kinks.
You've probably heard people talk about Project 2025. Some call it a conservative plan. Others say it's an authoritarian takeover. But here's what most people don't know. Both conservatives and progressives are sounding alarms about it. And that's where the common ground begins. First, Project 2025 is not unusual in format. Think tanks always create manuals for the new president. Heritage Foundation has been doing this since Ronald Reagan in 1980. Reagan's team used about 60% of that playbook. Tax cuts, deregulation, military buildup. So the idea of a playbook isn't new. What makes this one different is the scope. Project 2025 isn't just about policies. It's about re-engineering the system itself. Even supporters inside the conservative movement say this plan risks blowing up credibility. Their words, it could scare moderates and lose elections. Progressive voices call it an authoritarian power grab. Both sides are saying the same thing in different words. It's too much, too fast, too extreme. Project 2025 leans on something called the unitary executive theory. That means the president would have direct control over almost everything in the executive branch. Heritage even puts so-called independent agencies in quotes, suggesting they shouldn't really be independent. Conservative voices worry if Republicans do this now, Democrats will do it later. Progressive voices say it undermines democracy itself. The common ground, a president with unchecked power is a bad idea no matter who is in the Oval Office. The plan calls for a database of conservative loyalists to replace career staff. It even says employees tied to diversity programs or ideological agitation should be terminated. Ideological agitation means pushing certain beliefs or social agendas that some people see as politically charged. Conservative voices worry that firing tens of thousands of experts would make government less effective and harder to run. Progressive voices worry it destroys neutrality altogether. The common ground, whether you care about efficiency or democracy, this weakens both. Heritage's president calls this project orders of magnitude bigger than anything that they've done before, even describing it as part of a second American revolution. Conservative voices fear overreach will cost them suburban voters and undo decades of credibility. Progressive voices warn it could destabilize institutions and force massive reforms later. Both sides know that the pendulum swings. Overreach sparks backlash. Conservative voices say Heritage used to be a serious think tank. Now it's acting like a political war room. Progressive voices say it's become too ideological to trust. Either way, the institution that once shaped policy is now seen as shaping power plays. That loss of trust matters. So what does this mean for us as citizens? You don't need everyone to agree on why it's dangerous. You just need enough people to agree that it is. Here's the shared ground. It's extreme. It centralizes too much power. It risks breaking government beyond repair. That's people from the right, the left, and the middle standing together to hold the line. And if you're new to civic action, start here. Stay informed. Pick one solid news source and check it once a day and ignore the noise. You can call your representatives. One polite phone call gets logged, 10 gets flagged, just over 100 gets a meeting. Use the 5 Calls app. It makes it easy to call your reps. Show up locally. School boards, city councils, state houses. They are the front lines where citizens have the most impact. Talk to 2 people you trust. Compare notes. Democracy has always grown from conversations in kitchens and living rooms. Here's the bottom line. You don't have to see eye to eye on every policy. You just have to agree that no president should be able to rewrite the entire system in their image. That's not conservative. That's not progressive. That's just dangerous. And history tells us when power overreaches, ordinary citizens have always been the ones to pull the reins back. And it's our turn now.
Thank you for watching this video to the end. I Hope you have watched and learned something from these videos about the situation we are in as a country. We literally need our passports because what Project 2025 is doing is increasing presidential powers while removing barriers and getting essential federal agencies and making ICE the largest police force in the world, and maybe rename it the morality force. I don't know. Maybe that's the aim. Turn this country into Republican and one party state indefinitely. But I thought Trump said he had nothing to do with Project 2025. He said he had nothing to do with it. Oh, better for you, believing a natural born liar. They said that the Democrats were paranoid, believing something that didn't exist. And then I saw someone saying, midterms won't save us. Oh boy, don't fall for that psyop. It is the only chance we have to save this country. Kamala Harris talked about it. We all ignored her. Now we are seeing military being deployed in peaceful protest. We are allowing them to define how protest should be and how they should be carried out in this country. And the fact that our military, which swore an oath to defend our country from all enemies, external and within, is obeying his every command and cheering him on. It's scary times we are living in. To all my viewers, let me give you an assignment. Whenever Trump is making a speech at the White House, look at the people surrounding him. These are the billionaires who are there to ensure that Trump is there to stick to the script. They said that Trump is there to dismantle the deep state. How can Trump destroy the deep state when he is the deep state and he is the part of the deep state? Trump is the landlords who reap the poor. Trump is the corporate who are making our lives a living hell. Trump is the lobbyists who ensure that our representatives shelve our demands in favor of theirs. In short, Trump is part and parcel of the cartel that has hijacked the American dream since the Ronald Reagan era. And that's why he considers Ronald Reagan as the best president ever in our country. So guys, until the next video, thank you for your attention to this matter.